Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this evening. It's our Dallas Weekly video, and we're going to highlight our NFL draft prospect. Today, we're going to talk about Kary Vincent Jr., cornerback / safety out of LSU. If you like the video this evening, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And joining me, as he's been over the last year talking about these great players that's in the NFL draft, my man, the legend. He was drafted in the first round in the 1981 draft, 25th selection overall of the Atlanta Falcons, two-time All-American at Florida State University. He is the reason that Florida State now is considered one of the top 10 programs in the country. And here at 100 Yards of Football, we consider him the legend, Mr. Bobby Butler. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. We are 100 Yards of Football. So, Brother Butler, how you doing this week? And tell us about it. Yes, sir. I'm doing marvelous.
Happy Valentine's Day to you, my man.
You too, sir. Even though Valentine's Day is
over.
Yeah, and I look at it as another holiday. Based on the fact that I'm 60, and those holidays is for the young people, I like to say.
All right.
People that's in love.
People that's in love.
Yes, sir. But let's talk about Kary Vincent Jr., cornerback out of LSU.
Man, this young man, Vincent, you know, very rarely do you see guys who are so versatile. Nowadays, in the secondary, you see guys, he's either outside corner, he's either a slot, corner, or he's a strong safety or a free safety, right?
Yes, sir.
This young man is dynamic. Maybe the most versatile defensive back that I've seen in a long time coming out of college. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's 5'10", he's 189. He's got true cornerback size, right? What I call true cornerback size. But this young man, Vincent, can do it all. He can play outside wide. He can play slot corner. He can play nickel. He can play dime. And he can play in the middle of the field and play center field as a free safety. There's nothing that this guy can't do. I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see him perform because he got all the tools. He got all the tools, man. He can do it all. I mean, he can cover well. He's good in open field tackling. He's very athletic, Vincent. And Vince, I'm gonna tell you one thing I admire about this guy. The work that it takes as a defensive back. Guys typically lose the feel in their hands. Right? This young man has got a pair of the best hands I've seen in the secondary since prime time. And that's saying a lot. This young man can snag the ball out of the air with one hand as a defender. So he's a playmaker, Vincent. He's exciting to watch. He's a guy when you come to the game, you better have your eyes on Kary Vincent Jr. because he's a special talent, right? And the other thing I like about him, even though he's skilled and athletic, he plays, Vincent, with the blue-collar grind. It's something about him. He's working hard. He's always in the mix. He's always making it happen. And he can do it all, man. He reminds me of somebody. I'm going to tell you who he reminds me of, the way he played the game, because of his versatility. He reminds me of the guy who's the newly inducted NFL Hall of Famer by the name of Mr. Charles Woodson. He reminds me so much of Charles Woodson. Gritty, grimy, can run, can tackle, can make plays on the ball. Hey, listen, this guy has got a great future. Here's the thing I love about him too as well. He's going to be the fastest guy in the NFL draft this year.
I knew you would say that.
Vincent, I'm talking about this young man has got true speed.
I knew you was going to say that.
He was on the LSU track team, man. He was the leadoff man in the 4x1 that ran one of the best times in the history of the NCAA. All right? They ran like a 38, a low 38, and he was a leadoff man. He got the party started. It's not like the guy who get the party started. This guy's been timed in the 100 meters at 10.01 seconds. Bruh, he gonna run. When he run the 40, he's not a 4.3 guy. He's legit 4.25 or less. After he leave the combine, Vincent, he gonna have the shoe contract. He gonna have everything, right? He's gonna be the fastest guy in the NFL draft this year. I'm excited to see this young man play. Kary Vincent, I think the sky is open. It's not the limit. The sky is open to this young man.
If you like the video, Dave, please come and share it. Now, Brother Butler, I've been knowing you over a year. We did several prospects from the cornerback position. I would say this, I never, ever seen you excited about a prospect in Kary Vincent Jr. So I know coming from you, which I always say, you put a stamp of approval. I could tell that you really love this young man, not like love him, which I know you would. My observation of Kary Vincent Jr., first I'm going to start off that he comes from good bloodlines.
Yes, he does.
His father, Kary Vincent Sr., was a football player at Texas A&M, sixth-round draft pick of the New Orleans Saints in 1992. Passed in 2018.
Yes.
But Mr. Vincent Sr. and Kary Vincent Jr. from Port Arthur, Texas. And when I was doing my work about this young man, his father was very, very loved in Port Arthur.
Yes.
Did a lot of great things, sent over 100 kids to college, raised a lot of kids. So this young man, Kary Vincent Jr., got to LSU with a tremendous bloodline of character, caring for people, and waiting his time. Think about this. He went to LSU, and he wasn't the mainstay there. He played on the national championship team last year. They had Derek Stingley that was getting out of the pub, Grant Dilpet, who was getting out of the pub, and Christian Fortune, who was a second-round pick with the Tennessee Titans.
That's right.
But when you look at Kary Vincent Jr., he just stayed in the kind of like back in the over here and said, "Hey, I'm gonna let my work do what it does."
Absolutely.
48 tackles last year, led the team with 4 interceptions. But what I like about him, he's got everything you want in a corner. Elite speed, A+. Vision, A+. Can stick with any receiver in the country, A+. And like you said, he was the fastest player on LSU football team. But I didn't even know it until I started doing the research on him. But I'm going to tell you, he comes from an area in a high school, Port Arthur, that he comes from, as you say, some dogs. With your legend show all the time, you give back to the great players over the years that came out of your area. Ricky Jackson here that you had on a couple of weeks ago. Otis Anderson Jr., Anthony Carter. But this young man comes from Port Arthur and from his high school, Joe Washington.
That's right.
Tim McIver.
That's right. My teammate.
Darrell Harris with the Miami Dolphins in the game. The great Jimmy Johnson as the head coach. We all know about him. The singer, even though she passed early on, Janis Joplin.
Yes, sir.
Jamal Charles, Kevin Everett, Jonathan Babineau, Eric Alexander, even Steven Jackson, the basketball player. So he comes from a high school in an area that produces a lot of great football players, basketball players, and athletes in a good foundation in that area of Port Arthur and Beaumont. If you're talking about his game, to me, looking at him, man, and looking how he could cover the deep third of the field, I'm going to tell you something. He reminds me, and you know I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, he reminds me of a guy that's right now on Jackson State staff. And you know where I'm finna go. Now, this guy wasn't as fast as he was, but he really reminds me of a Dennis Thurman out of USC. Came to the Cowboys as a corner, but he played safety and corner in the nickel
corner. That's right.
Then it reminds me of a guy locally here that plays for the Falcons, Ricardo Allen. Came to the Falcons in 2014 as a corner. Made a move over to safety. Able fast enough to cover the field. Then it reminds me of Bradley Roby, another Atlanta local kid. Then another kid out of USC, Nicole Roby Coleman.
Nicole Roby, right.
Yes. All those guys, this young man, I think is better than all them. I'm going to put it out there. And the only reason he's not going in the first round because he accepted the role at LSU and just said, hey, let me do what's best for the team.
Right.
But when you're talking about elite speed, the ability to play at a high level, the ability to come in and play right away, Kary Vincent Jr., as you said to me, is one of the most versatile defensive backs that's came into this draft in a long time.
Yes,
I'm talking about maybe 30, 40 years because his elite speed. And I'm going to tell you this. Go back and look at his game film. Oklahoma, how he played against C.D. Lamb.
That's right.
Go back and look at the Alabama game film in 2019 where he held his own against Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs Jr., and Jalen Waddle. Just look at how he covered all four of those guys. Right. I didn't see them guys running away from him.
That's right.
But most of all, what I like about him, man, that's beautiful, I like that ability when the ball in his air and his comeback speed is something serious. And you know what? It reminds me of a player that played at Florida State in 1979 and went up against Chris Collinsworth. He was only a junior at the time, but I remember Collinsworth got him on a couple of raps, but he was able to use that speed and break up the pass. He's like a mirror image. People who I'm talking about is the beautiful man in front of me, Bobby Butler, and that's why he loves Kary Vincent Jr. this evening. If you're talking about a player that remembers a player, he reminds us of a young Bobby Butler. I'm not trying to give you all the kudos because you are great, Mr. Butler, but he reminds me a lot of you, man, because his recovery speed and how fast and quick he can line those plays in his football IQ, high level A+.
Yes.
And that's my final words about Kary Vincent Jr. Brother Butler.
Hey, I'm excited for this guy, man. He gonna make somebody happy when they select him. You know, and I hope teams, if they want him, they need to go get him. Don't be sitting back and wait. You better go get him because you're gonna have something special on your hands. And one last thing I want to say about college players that are very athletic, they shine in the NFL. They shine in the NFL because it's about man, oh man, money, oh money. Listen, they shine in the league, and this young man will not be an exception to the rule.
Well, my final words of the evening, you heard from the greatest. He played the position at a high level. And when I picked Kary Vincent Jr. to our audience out there, I said that this man was going to fall in love with him because he plays the game just like Brother Butler did back at Florida State and with the Atlanta Falcons. This guy's got a lot of tools. And then over the past week, we've been talking about Patrick Surtain Jr., Caleb Fairley, another gentleman we had, Aaron Robinson, on last week, Asante Samuel Jr. But I'm going to be honest with you. When it's all said and done, this young man might be the best out of all the groups of defensive backs selected in the 2020 NFL draft. And then think about the LSU defensive back history. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, played in the Super Bowl. Patrick Peterson.
That's right.
Tavares White, that's making noise with the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
Travis Daniels, that's played at a high level. Corey Webster with the New York Giants.
Right.
But when I'm talking about this young man here, this young man has some serious skill level to really be an outstanding player at the next level. And coming from Port Arthur, Texas, and kudos to his father for raising a great young man, because this young man, a lot of people don't know how special his father was in the Port Arthur area. So, as I always say, y'all enjoyed 100 Yards Football this evening. This was one of the best videos I did on a player, because I'm very excited, and I like this young man. And you know why I like him, Brother Butler?
What's that?
He waited his time at LSU, and everybody thought about Grant Dale Pitt was the best DB, right. Christian Fulton was the best DB, and Derek Stingley Jr. was the best DB in that secondary last year that won the national championship. But when it's all said and done, this young man might be the best of the whole bunch.
That's right. That's right.
So if you like the video this evening, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate you here at 100 Yards Football. God bless, and we'll see you next week.